Okay, let's dive into this. Welcome to today's Explainer. We are tackling a seriously massive challenge in our digital age, and that is figuring out how to transform an absolute ocean of chaotic, raw data into structured, actionable intelligence. I mean, if you've ever felt totally overwhelmed by the sheer volume of information on the internet, you are absolutely in the right place. Today, we're going to learn exactly how professional analysts cut through all that noise using a highly structured methodology. To do that, we rely on the established intelligence cycle. As you can see, we'll be walking through these 6 key phases. We go from planning and direction, right through collection, processing, analysis, dissemination, and finally, feedback and refinement. This chronological framework is literally our required roadmap for pulling off successful investigations.
But, before we get ahead of ourselves, let's define our core concept from first principles. What exactly are we doing here? Well, we're conducting open source intelligence, or OSINT. Now, unlike classified data or stolen information, OSINT relies strictly on publicly available information, we call that PAI, and commercially available information, or CAI. We're talking about search engines, social media, public records, corporate reports, the whole shebang. It's really the art of finding what's hiding in plain sight and doing it entirely within legal boundaries.
And this brilliantly illustrates the whole process. Notice the flow of this blueprint here. We start at the top right to define our scope, and then move down into gathering that public data, processing it, analyzing it, and distributing it. See the arrows? Each stage feeds directly into the next in a continuous loop. Because honestly, if you just wade in haphazardly, you're gonna fail. This roadmap ensures every single piece of data actually has context and purpose. Now, to ground this methodology in the real world, let's look at how this plays out. Take cybersecurity, for example. Attackers use active scanning and OSINT, gathering info on things like network infrastructure, open ports, employee emails, to basically plan their attacks. But it's not just cyber. Investigative journalists use these exact same public sources to uncover corruption, law enforcement uses them to track fugitives, business intelligence teams use them to monitor competitors. The point is, adversaries are constantly viewing your organization from the outside using these tools, so it's absolutely vital for defenders to use this exact same methodology to spot their own vulnerabilities first.
All right, moving into phase 1, planning and direction.
As an investigator, it is so tempting to just open up a search engine and start furiously digging. But thoughtful, deliberate planning lays the groundwork. You absolutely must articulate your mission goals up front. What do your stakeholders actually need to know? You should be setting priority intelligence requirements, prompting yourself to ask vital questions like, why do we even believe this initial lead? This establishes your essential elements of information, giving you vital context. Because remember, information is not intelligence until it has context. You have to define your success criteria before collecting a single byte of data.
And right alongside that planning, we have to lock down our legal boundaries. The intelligence community has incredibly strict rules governing access to sensitive, commercially available information. If you're purchasing data and it contains personally identifiable information, PII of U.S. persons, for example, major safeguards kick in. You need procedures in place to audit your queries and protect that sensitive data. Strict compliance isn't optional. It's baked into the methodology from minute 1.
So, quick recap. We've defined our objectives, set our scope, mapped out legal constraints. We're ready for phase 2, OSINT collection.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the sheer scale of where we can hunt. The OSINT framework is like this massive tree of public sources. Look at all those branches. You've got usernames, email addresses, geolocation tools, public records. The target area is just vast. Our goal is to systematically select the open sources that specifically align with the plan we just built, rather than just clicking around aimlessly. To navigate that massive framework, analysts use both manual and automated methods. Look, doing this manually takes forever, so we use specific tools to systematically extract the data. Python scripts can scrape text straight from websites. Automated frameworks like Spiderfoot map out a target's entire digital footprint. You've got tools like Shodan acting as a search engine for exposed internet infrastructure, and Foca extracting hidden document metadata. By tying these together with API integrations, we can gather huge data sets incredibly fast.
But hold on a second. Before you go firing up those tools, we need to talk about a huge beginner mistake. Once you start collecting, you will instantly drown in browser tabs. Workspace organization is critical. You absolutely need tab management, dedicated folders, consistent file naming, and a digital notebook. You have to record your evidence and maintain documentation during this intense collection phase. If you can't trace exactly where a piece of data came from, it's completely useless for your final report.
Okay, so we've got our data, a massive mountain of raw data, which brings us to phase 3, processing and exploitation.
I really want to clear up a common beginner confusion right here, speaking directly to you. A lot of people blend processing and analysis together, but they are very different. Processing, that's mechanical. It's the organizing, the cleaning out of duplicates, normalizing formats, filtering the junk, structuring the data. Analysis, on the other hand, is the critical thinking part. That's pattern recognition, source validation, and interpreting insights. You simply cannot analyze a messy data set.
So once our data is nicely filtered, categorized, and indexed, we step right into phase 4, analysis and production. This is where the magic happens. How do we actually transform this data into intelligence? Well, analysts have to use serious critical thinking. You cross-reference multiple, diverse sources. You verify credibility. You fact-check to detect misinformation. You build timelines and identify connections. It's like a giant puzzle. By corroborating your findings and identifying relationships, you're building a complete, reliable intelligence picture that leads to actionable conclusions.
But here's the thing. Despite all those automated frameworks we talked about, the human element is strictly required. An algorithm might spit out 1,000 connections, but human effort is essential to evaluate that output for actual reliability and relevance. We need human reviewers to avoid cognitive biases, reduce false positives, and ensure the final assessment is actually sound.
All right, we've analyzed it, we have our actionable conclusion, but we're not done. It's time for phase 5, dissemination.
All that brilliant analysis is essentially worthless if we don't deliver the results properly to our stakeholders. Delivering intelligence means tailoring it to the audience's specific mission needs. A CEO might need a crisp executive summary, while a security operations center needs a dense technical report full of visual link charts and dashboards. And crucially, even though OSINT starts with public data, your analytical conclusions might be highly sensitive. You must protect that information and communicate it via secure channels.
Let's move to phase 6 and see how this builds. Feedback and refinement.
Delivering the report naturally triggers this final phase. You have to close the loop. You receive stakeholder feedback, measure how effective your report actually was, and identify any collection gaps where your tools maybe missed something. Taking this feedback allows practitioners to adjust their processes and refine future intelligence requirements, ensuring continuous improvement for every investigation moving forward.
Now, let me ask you a question. Has the threat landscape changed while we were busy doing all that?
The answer is absolutely yes, and that's why the concept of continuous collection is so important. Information is incredibly dynamic. With threat monitoring and automated alerts, intelligence gathering never truly ends. The cycle just repeats. The feedback and refinement stage feeds directly back into a brand new planning and direction phase. The end of one investigation is quite literally just the foundation of the next. So, to wrap this explainer up, a structured methodology is really the only thing keeping an analyst from total data overload. By mastering these 6 phases, you can confidently turn that chaotic ocean of public noise into clear, actionable signals. But here's a provocative thought for you. Knowing the cycle is only half the battle. How do you ensure your own brain isn't tricking you during that crucial analysis phase? Well, in our next explainer, we'll be diving into critical thinking and intelligence analysis. You definitely won't want to miss it. See you then.